The title of today's topic is on preferential and prescriptive marriage. Rules prohibiting certain persons from becoming spouses may be accompanied by rules designating others as particularly appropriate. The marriage that takes place under this rule, no matter whether it is sometimes broken, that a man ought to marry a person belonging to a particular category of person is called a preferred or preferential marriage. For example, a girl must marry his or her close cousin, and if one would like to have the prescription waived in one's case, compensation has to be paid to the losing party. There are many societies where there is a rule of lineage exogamy. In which marriage between first cousins is permitted or even should. These kind of marriages are called prescribed or prescriptive marriages. They must, of course, be cousins belonging to different lineages. Since a person derives his lineage's membership from a parent of one sex, it is usually the child of his parent's sibling of the other sex who becomes his mate. In this relationship, the children of the siblings of opposite marriage are close cousins. Prescribed or prescriptive marriages involve matrilateral close cousins. Prescribed or prescriptive close cousin marriage is most commonly found in patrilineal societies. Levi-Strauss has said that preferential mating is, for each man purpose, the strengthening of solidarity within a tribe. They are often designed to promote interfamilial cordiality by making certain linkages imperative. Under prescribed or prescriptive marriage, we have the rules of endogamy and exogamy. Rules of endogamy and exogamy. All societies have prescription and proscriptions regarding who may or may not marry whom. In some societies, these restrictions are subtle, while in some others, individuals who can or cannot be married are more explicitly and specifically defined. Based on rules governing eligibility, two different forms of marriages, endogamy and exogamy, exist. Now we have endogamy. In endogamy, a member is required to marry within his own group. Lewis defines endogamy as the rule that requires a person to marry within a specific social group of which he is a member. In the Indian context, caste is defined as an endogamous group, just as the Gonds are a tribe. Thus, Gonds is an endogamous group. Brahmin would not marry a Rajput. In the same way, a Gond would not marry a Santal. However, there are cases of inter-caste and inter-tribal marriages, though such marriages are not the rule. Where the society is stratified on class line, a member would marry within his own class. In this sense, membership of class is endogamous. Erikson writes, in a sense, all human groups are both endogamous and as well as exogamous to varying degrees. One is expected to marry one's own kin, but not someone classified as a close relative, and who is not is naturally, culturally specified. Although the people classified as parents, children, and siblings in Europe are virtually everywhere seen as close kin. Exogamy. Exogamy is a general rule of marriage in which a person marries outside a specific social group of which he is a member. In other words, a marriage outside the lineage is a descent group either from the father's and mother's line which traces its origin from a common ancestor. In such a situation, it becomes interesting to differentiate between the close kin and the descent on lineages. Certainly, the size of the group of close kin is smaller. Normally, it consists of father, children, and siblings. Beyond this small group, there is a larger group which consists of descent and lineage and descent group. Among the tribals too, there are clans. A clan is a lineage group. A Gond, for instance, is not allowed to marry his own clan. The villages of Western India have about 40 clans. Normally, a tribal village consists of one or two clans. In this situation, all the members of the village are brothers and sisters. Because of this, There is practice of village exogamy, according to which a tribal would not prefer to marry within his own village. Westermarck has provided yet another interpretation for exogamy through an anecdote. Once, when his barber came to his house, Westermarck inquired from him, "Are you married?" "No," the barber replied. Westermarck suggested that he could have married in his village where there were enough girls. To this, the barber commented, "Oh, the girls of my village are good for nothing. I know them all." The statement made by the barber shows that it is the instinct in a man to look for a girl who generates curiosity. Such a man is considered heroic who brings a girl from great distance. Such kinds of male attitude also explain the prevalence of exogamy. Westermarck gives yet another empirical evidence to support the practice of exogamy. In London, there are two schools situated in either the side of the road. One school has co-education, while the other one is exclusively for girls. He found that the boys of the co-education school often went to the girls' school in search of love and romance. When they were reminded that there were girls in their own class and they could very well take a fiancé for them, the boys replied, "The girls of our school, we know them all. They are rotten," and hence exogamy. Preferential marriage. Marriages between kinsfolk are common in primitive societies. In Australia, it is a common practice that a man must marry a kinswoman since he is related by bond of kinship. According to their tradition, many of the primitive societies do prescribe certain relatives who are preferred as mate. This preferential mating may be classified as follows. Number 1, cross-cousin marriage. Number 2, parallel cousin marriage. Number 3, levirate. Number 4, sororate. Number 5, filial inheritance. Cross-cousin marriage. Cross-cousin marriage means the marriage of a man with either his mother's brother's daughter or his father's sister's daughter. This is a popular and orthodox type of marriage found among the tribal communities of India. Of the two types of marriages, marriage with mother's brother's daughter is more common. This type of marriage is found to be prevalent among most of the tribes of northeast India, such as Garos, the Khasis, the Kukis, the Karvis, the Noktes, the Nagas, etc. The Gonds, the Orans, the Vaigas, and some other tribes of India practice this type of marriage. Virtually all the tribes of North and Central Melanesia practice cross-cousin marriage. It is also practiced in Sri Lanka, Australia, South and East Africa, Siberia, etc. There are two types of cross-cousin marriages. They are symmetrical cross-cousin marriage and asymmetrical cross-cousin marriage. First, we have symmetrical marriage. When mother's brother's daughter or father's sister's daughter is acceptable as a match, it is called a symmetrical cross-cousin marriage. It is also termed bilateral cross-cousin marriage. In Assam only, symmetrical cross-cousin marriages are prevalent. Similarly, the Dravidians practice symmetrical cross-cousin marriage. Next is asymmetrical marriage. Asymmetrical cross-cousin marriage is one according to which marriage is preferred with either mother's brother's daughter or father's sister's daughter and not with both. That is, if one marries mother's brother's daughter, he cannot marry father's sister's daughter and vice versa. Marriage with mother's brother's daughter is called matrilateral cross-cousin marriage, and that with father's sister's daughter is termed patrilateral cross-cousin marriage. The Trobriand islanders of Melanesia permit marriage only with father's sister's daughter. The Murings of Australia and the Miwok of California practice asymmetrical cross-cousin marriage. Next, we have parallel cousin marriage. It means the marriage of a man with either his father's brother's daughter or mother's sister's daughter. It is prevalent among the Semitic Arabs and Muslims of India. It is also practiced by the Ryangs of Tripura. It has been said that marriages with close relatives leads to fewer number of progeny. That is why marriage of this kind is not acceptable in many societies. Next, we have levirate. The Latin term lever means husband's brother. When a widow marries her brother-in-law, this is husband's brother. The system of marriage is known as levirate. There are two types of levirate. They are senior levirate and junior levirate. Now we have senior levirate. When marriage takes place between a widow and the elder brother of the deceased husband, it is called senior levirate. The Hos, the Kyrgyz, the Turks, the Mongols, etc. practice this system of marriage. Junior levirate. When the younger brother marries the wife of his deceased elder brother, it is known as junior levirate. This is found to be practiced by the Australian, the biblical Hebrews, the Incas, the Muslims of India, the Kukis, the Lusais, the Kurvis, the Nagas, the Vedas, etc. The custom of levirate is regarded more as a duty than as a right. The nearest relative is obliged to care for the widow left with children, land and herd. In some societies, the children of the new couple are regarded socially as the children of the dead man. Next is sororate. The Latin term soror means sister. In the sororate, a bereft husband marries his deceased wife's sister. That is, a girl marries her deceased sister's husband. In some cases, it is mandatory, while in others, it is performed on permissive basis. Like levirate, sororate also consists of two types, senior sororate and junior sororate. Senior sororate. When the bereft husband marries his deceased wife's elder sister, it is called senior sororate. But this form of marriage is very limited in its practice and distribution. Next is junior sororate. When the bereft husband marries his deceased wife's younger sister, the system of marriage is called the junior sororate, which is prevalent in many parts of the world. Sororate is found practiced mainly Hindus, Muslims, and various tribes of India. It is also practiced by virtually every tribe of North America. Outside the Pueblo area, this form of marriage is found widely distributed throughout the world. Sororate is sometimes mistaken for sororal polygyny. Under the true sororate, a man is married to but one sister at a time. But in sororal polygyny, a man is not required to wait for the death of his wife to marry her younger sister. He asks for her hand whenever she comes of marriageable age, so that he can marry several sisters at a time. Next, we have filial inheritance. When a brother or a son is permitted to inherit the secondary wife of the dead man, it is called filial inheritance. The Incas are found to have observed this custom. In case of the son, he generally inherits the wives of his dead father other than his uterine mother. This is practiced by the Shema Nagas. Filial inheritance is possible only where there is polygamous marriage. It also helps keep the woman in the family. Let us now draw the conclusion. Preferential and prescriptive marriages, as is clear by the title, are the marriage customs in which some males or females are preferred for establishing matrimonial relationship. In such cases, the marriage is a means for uniting two families for welfare of both. The preference is clearly based upon certain advantages concerning new relationship and adjustment and respect in the new family. The rules of preferential and prescriptive mating are, however, customary and not written. It is obvious that these preferential or prescribed forms of mating limit the number of possible marital linkages. Nonetheless, their distribution is universal.